Dude, I'm way behind again as always. Hang on.
Always.
Dude, it wouldn't open. It was taking forever. I clicked the go live link and it's taking forever. Hang on. I'm trying. There we go. Pin that one.
Ready? You
Okay.
got it. You got it.
Yeah. Well, there's one. Hang on. Let me get the other one. All right. Let's see.
Oh, I just don't realize what you're doing. You're linking it to the other app.
I'm pinning it. So it's at the top. So when you go to our any of our social media stuff, it's at the top. So it's not hidden. They don't have to dig for it. So yeah. So it's just taking. It was taking forever to load.
Wow, I got lied
For
to
some
again.
weird reason. I
Got
know.
lied
Yeah.
to.
Hey, but I mean, if you're expecting more than that from us now, guys, I mean, the joke's on y'all, right?
Yeah, the joke is on you for sure.
Yeah,
The joke is the Cyfair people for letting us in, right?
dude. Yeah. So that was. Yeah, I think they're taking. They
No
must be.
idea, right?
They must be watching because they're waiting to the last minute. For,
What are you
just
wearing
like
tomorrow?
us, huh? I haven't. I might get comfortable. I'm gonna wear
Good.
sweats again as usual and a t-shirt. I'm not gonna get all fancied up.
Well, no, I'm not gonna. I didn't think we are gonna look like Robbie, but
Yeah, yeah. I'm all about comfort and utilitarian. Uh, who? Oh, you. Oh yeah, he's all. That's what I said. He said it's all. He's all cleaned up and stuff. I'm like, look at that haircut.
I
Oh
didn't even
man.
get a haircut.
Oh well, it's
It
combed.
actually took some time to comb the hair.
No hat. Yeah. So.
No hat.
Well, welcome back, guys. To what is possibly the last show of the week. The South Texas Football Unlimited High School Football Podcast webcast, the original in the Coastal
Last
Band.
one for the year because I go to Colorado on Sunday.
Oh, it is going to be. Yeah, I guess it is the last of the year unless I go solo. Yeah. So, man, it depends. It depends what happens this week. Well, I guess it's the last show with us together for the year. That's a definite must. Maybe I'll get a guest host on. Maybe Matt Stepp next week. So Matt Stepp, we tried to get Matt Stepp on this week. It was kind of last minute. And he was willing to, but Wednesdays are his no football nights in the Stepp household. So I didn't want him to cross that bridge, especially with such last minute notice. So
that's fair though, because you know exactly how the wives are.
Oh, 100%, dude. 100%.
Did you ever dig into that any further about what's going on about all that going to watch football and?
No, I didn't. I don't know if she's watching yet. But
I'm curious too. I told Kent the same thing. I was like, kind of worried for
him. No, man. So yeah, my wife threw a curveball at me the other day saying, so we start work tomorrow night, right? We start work Friday night and work Friday night, Saturday night, Sunday night, Monday night. There she is. She's watching. And so I actually switched a night. I worked today, daylights on my day off, so I could have Saturday night off. I switched with the guy at work to go to my wife's Christmas party. And she comes at me the other day, hey, well, do you want to go to the game on Saturday to go watch Vets and College Station? And I'm like, no, I don't think so. I mean, what really threw me off because she was like, she didn't want to go to her Christmas party. So immediately, I got suspicious. She's going to yell at me here. So just watch the comments. Something will pop up here in a little bit. And, I told Justin, I was like, I'm to say I'm suspicious is an understatement. And no, she just thought, I thought you'd want to go. I'm like, nah, I took the night off to go to your Christmas party. We'll go to your Christmas party. And then I think so we're going to the Christmas party. So there will be no football games for us on Saturday. But we will have a game on Thursday, right? So tomorrow we're packing up early and heading to Cypress.
I thought, are we getting on the bus? Are we riding with Ryan and them on the bus?
No, I don't think Ryan's riding on the bus. Ryan, are you guys riding on the bus?
I figured they'd take like charters and the whole town would go.
Yeah, I get. Right, I would assume the town's going to be shut down, pretty much, right? You're going to have the folks at Whataburger and McDonald's and the truck stop there, probably.
They probably won't even stay.
Yeah, we'll see. Oh man, no, see, they're not riding on the bus, and man, so I don't know if we have a whole lot to banner on right now as far as small talk before we jump into anything from last week.
The
The
transfer portal is lit in college football. Did you see the
dude,
numbers out of that?
6,000, right? Something like that. 6,000 kids are in the portal right now,
Um,
dude.
yes, sir.
And
I think opening day was 700.
uh-huh.
700 kids.
Yeah, I saw that. And yeah,
What's
man,
crazy about the portals, once you enter, man, your team doesn't have to let you come back.
really?
You know what I mean? Yeah. So
Oh, well,
I think that's what I think people don't really realize is that you don't have to. They don't have. I don't think they necessarily have to let you back on the team once you've entered it.
yeah, well,
It could
it's
just
a
be like,
risky,
hey,
it's a risky take, right?
yep, nice knowing you.
Yeah. Wow. Oh, Ryan, look at that bus schedule for next week. Well, let's hope. Ryan, you got a tough one this week. Big hurdle to get over. And we're going to get into that in a little bit. I wanted to talk about instant replay, but I think we'll talk about that when we talk about the Cuero game. How do you stop or slow down the slot? You got to have some very athletic kids, right? I mean, you've got to have some very athletic kids, fast kids to blow that up, especially if it's an offense. My opinion, if it's an offense you're not used to seeing, and that's what I think favored Cal Allen a lot when they were playing 5A, because there's not a lot of 5A schools that run the slot T and or the wing T or any kind of triple option or whatever. They're not used to seeing that, so it's tough to squeeze that in a week, especially if you haven't seen it, especially up north, right, where they run a lot of these spread offenses and things like that. It's the
You need
great
speed.
equalizer. It's
You
the
need
great
speed.
equalizer. Yeah, it's the great equalizer, in my opinion, to kind of
Until you find a
counteract
team
this
that's faster
athleticism.
than you.
Yeah, which is what you saw when Cal Allen faced those Fort Bend Marshall teams. I know they hate to bring that up, right?
Lamarck, all those years.
Yeah, those fast athletic kids. But that's really what you need.
You
In my
saw it
opinion.
last year when Liberty Hill played. Was it Sock?
Sock,
Was it
yeah,
Sock who they
yep,
played last year?
yep,
You saw that. You saw that. I mean, that was the identical matchup, and you saw it too when Cal Allen played against Alito, right? So don't just let's not keep it to that certain region of teams. Alito's from the Dallas area, a bunch of big
yeah.
boys with speed, and that's ultimately what will get you. You know, honestly, good linebacking core because that team from Austin in I think
McAllen,
16 or 17
yeah, Austin
played Cal
McAllen.
Allen with two solid linebackers, and one linebacker was extraordinarily good. So yeah, but you gotta keep in mind too, if you watch Liberty Hill, they're not really like any like to me, Liberty Hill would be the team if you wanted to run slot T, we're gonna put this on the screen. This is who we want to be, right? They're not replicating anybody like that's current right now. Like they are probably the best slot team in Texas, hands down. And they run it so efficiently. I mean, it takes literally 1 second and they're on the ball, they're moving, and then it's a track meet, right? Like
Yeah,
I played in the wing T offense and we didn't I never remember being in a sprint 20 yards down the field as a lineman like they are. I mean, they are athletic and it's literally, I mean, they hit their assignment, and I don't even know if they really like. They're moving so fast, I don't even really see them block really that much. They almost like, chip their guys and go, and it's a machine, man. That's the way they run it is honestly super impressive for how they run it. It's crazy.
yeah,
I was watching them play Flower Bluff and just thinking, good God, it's a track meet.
yeah, yeah. And that's a run based team. Did they even throw the ball that game? I didn't watch a lot of that game. I just
They
popped
don't
in here
have
and there,
to,
but
but they can. They don't have to, but they can. That's
yeah,
what's the only thing that I had a question about was Flower Bluff kind of moved the ball in the air when they needed to on them for the most part. It's just man, once you have like one or two times where you get stopped, you're in such a bind against
you're
them
in a hole. Yeah,
unless you're stopping them, right? And I've only seen a couple teams do that. Carthage was one of them. And actually that year Liberty Hill won state. They beat Carthage to win it, but Carthage was stopping them. And then last year against Sock stopped them a couple times enough to win it.
yeah,
So it's crazy.
yeah. John, that was my question. I don't know if they threw a pass last week or not. I would bet no. And if they
I had
did,
3 games on the screen. I thought they did, but I could be wrong.
if they did, it may have been once or twice. And
Maybe.
a lot of these teams that they don't at this, because I was trying to look up stats today, doing some research for the show today. A lot of these teams that are in these Final Fours don't keep stats on max preps. Um, so so I couldn't find a whole lot of information on that. But yeah, so like I said, I wanted to touch on instant replay, but we'll get to that when we talk about Cuero. But let's talk about some of these games. So talking about getting behind and getting in a hole. Cal Allen and Bernie. You
Yep.
know, this week, and if you read the show notes, we're going to take our Homer hats off this week. And we had our Homer hats on hard last week, and and
Wow.
going against our better judgment a lot of times. But we're trying to rep the Coastal Bend, right? And
Well, it's Coastal Bend versus everybody at this point, right?
yeah,
I mean, let's be
blindly pick our
realistic.
right. Region 4, essentially, right? Region 4 versus everybody, right? And
Yeah, now it's
th-
Region 4. Yeah, yeah.
this was a game that Cal had to play perfect uh, to get by. And the run game was there. If you guys watched that game for a little bit, the run game was there. But just like Justin said about Liberty Hill, you have to score on every possession, and you've got to keep pace. And Cal Allen had a lot of these small penalties that kept him in the hole. And it seemed like the first time they had to punt, that was it, because they could not stop Bernie. It's a very efficient offense that they're running there in Bernie. Nothing flashy. I mean, they really didn't take any deep shots. I mean, 5, 7, 8 yards here, and that connection with the Bays brothers is something. And man, it's just it was tough, man. It was tough. They got in that hole, and it's just hard to bounce back from it. And then it just snowballed and got away from them.
I mean, there's a lot of factors in that game if you think about it. Like realistically, on paper going into that game, without like the Homer hat on, like the size was advantage Bernie.
Yeah.
The speed for the most part was advantage Bernie. Uh, and then you get into the play calling script, right? And is like you said, as soon as Calhoun kind of had to do something more than just run out of the shotgun, they were kind of hit or miss. They were a little iffy on the throw game,
Yeah.
right? It wasn't clicking as much. Burnett got on the playing field where there's a little bit more speed on it, so he wasn't being able to just bust big plays like he has been all year down here. That was huge because that offense, if you watched in the last like 5-6 weeks, was really running through him, running the ball a lot once Epi went down out of the shotgun.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, dude, you face that's a legit quarterback. You face a legit QB. That if you want to see, like, I know we have good quarterbacks down here, but like if you're talking about like legit competition high school football quarterback, you got it. You found him. And I told you this back when GP played
Yep.
Bernie, that they had a big offensive line, they had a pretty good sized defensive line, and they threw the ball really well. And that was early on in his sophomore campaign, right? And he's just gotten better, right? He's gotten
Yep.
better each week. So I mean, you tackle on all those factors, and like, man, they're just clicking.
And that's a young team, man. They are a
They have
young
a lot
team.
of stuff going for them, dude. I mean, they have the size at the line, they have the speed at receiver and skill position. The one thing I would think is their running back's not like he's not blow you away speed or anything like that. He's kind of honestly he was a little husky for me for the running back.
Yeah.
But other than that, they look good, right? The thing for them is they play what Tyler
Chapel Hill.
Chapel,
Tyler Chapel Hill.
who's loaded with speed and talent themselves. So you're going to see, can they handle that, right? Can they handle someone who's up to the level of speed and size that they bring? And actually, I think Bernie might be a little bit bigger than Chapel Hill, but I think Chapel Hill's got more team speed than Bernie. So that's going to be an interesting matchup this week as well.
Could be a track meet, man.
Yeah, I mean, my brother-in-law is up by Tyler now, and he talks about Chapel Hill a lot, man. When he talks about we text about high school football a lot, and we talked all year long about Longview, right? We're very versed on Longview, at least I am. I've kept up with them pretty hard. Very versed with Kilgore right now, and then where I was, and then Chapel Hill, of course, and just some of the kids like Gilmore, like the Gilmore and the Carthage area. So like, yeah, Chapel Hills came up in conversation. They got a bunch of athletes. So
They've got a couple of D1 guys that are D1 commits on that squad. So
that's going to be an interesting one. And we talked to Matt last week, and he said his big concern for Chapel Hill, I think if you listen to Matt, he's leaning Chapel Hill all the way. But he thinks also that Chapel Hill is the type of team that can kill themselves, right? Make the mistakes to keep Bernie alive. So that's going to be interesting. That's one that I think if you can find a stream to watch it, it'll be worth watching. Obviously, any of these games this week will be worth watching, but that'll be a good one just because we have a little connection there, So that'll be interesting. And you know what? It is what it is, right? Callan had a good run. They lost Epi throughout the year. A lot of those kids, Rubio was impressive to watch. Medina is coming back next year, I believe. He was impressive to watch. And then Bryce Burnett, he had the season that I think we were expecting him to have. So it was fun. It was a good ride for Cal Allen. They shouldn't be disappointed. sometimes it's a better team, dude. It's a better team.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah. And
really
like I
don't
said,
think there was anything those kids could have done to have changed that outcome, right? That was just you lost to a better team at that point.
yeah. And there's no shame in that. Right.
No, yeah, I
So
mean, dude, you people down here freak out and say it's not, it's illegitimate that we get this far, but when you get this far, you're going to face a good squad.
what do you want to talk about next? You want to talk about Vets PSJ North, or you want to talk about Cuero Silsby?
We can do the Vets PSA North since well, Quero Sills because we watched that one together on the stream, and then we'll do the Vets PSJ North.
Okay, so this will bring me into my little banter that I wanted to go on my little rant. We talked about this last year, I think. Went back and forth. I want to say it was with Matt Stepp or somebody I went back and forth with on Twitter on this instant replay. So instant replay, as you guys know, and if you don't know, is only authorized right now for the state championship games. I think that's a little unfair, because I get it. You're on the biggest stage and you want to make sure you get these calls right. Well, what about the games to get there? Right. I know it's not feasible for district games, 300 or hundreds of games every Friday night to have a quality stream and be able to look at these games. I get that. It's not feasible. Not yet. Right. But the playoffs, these are very important games. Just look now. All these games are being streamed, Texan Live, NFHS, and the local districts, right? There's got to be a way they can incorporate some of this stuff into getting instant replay. There's got to be, and I bring that up because, and this isn't to take anything away from Cuero or anything, but they got away with one, dude. I think this happened in the first overtime, right? I'm gonna share my screen here a little bit, and it's no secret. It's all over social media right now, right? There you go. Right there, right? Now, a game doesn't come down to one play, right? We watched this game. We thought Silsby was going to run away with this thing, right? Those first 8 minutes of the ball game, Cuero couldn't do anything right.
Yeah.
Silsby had them on their heels. Draylon Miller and those guys were putting it at him. Cuero settled in, caught back up, played their game, and did what they were supposed to do. But man, that hurts, right? That hurts. You hate to be on the other end of that when you see that. It was, if you remember when it happened, there was a delay before they called that play, right? They looked it over and there was discussion between the referees on what they wanted to do. If instant replay was available, they probably would have looked at it. But I think it needs to happen for all playoff games. That's just my opinion. That was my opinion last year. I don't know. In my opinion, it's not fair for just one game. But then you can follow that argument saying, well, you need it for all the games. Right now, it's not feasible. What do you think?
I'm opposite, right? I think they should scrap it completely from the state games. I hate it.
Or that. Take it away, right?
I didn't like it. The first year we saw it was the Jordan Whittington era at Cuero when they won state, and they called back a touchdown. And he the very next play right before halftime, he literally, 10 yards further back than the time before, scores again, right? It was like, you ain't gonna take my touchdown away, right? But I don't like it, man. I really don't. That's part of the thing I like about high school football, right? Is it's still untouched to me a little bit in a sense that way. We get to college and the NFL and everything's reviewed and there's arguments here and there, but it just sucks because there's times in the high school game where you're watching, you look to the screen to think to yourself, oh wait, we're gonna get instant replay, or and then it's like, oh yeah, we're not. They don't do that here, right? And I think if you're gonna run it, it either needs to be the whole year or nothing at all. I get they want to make the calls right at the state game. There's a lot riding there, but if you're Silsby, you make the argument, hey, we should be playing this week.
Yep.
Very clearly, had you been doing it, and you're in NRG, so they have the capability there. It's just I honestly think it is doable for all schools. I think the probably reason why they don't want to is you'd have to have like if, for example, we're looking at the Shiner Refugio matchup. Where are they going to play it? Where are they going to play it? You have a wide open variety of places to play, and then they went to San Marcos, and you're like, wow, that's kind of way out of the way. I mean, what happens if some of those facilities don't have the capability to do it, and then you're forced to? Then now you're traveling different. I don't know. There's just a lot of logistics to it. If they're going to do it, they need to come up with a plan package to roll that out to all schools. But like some of the things is you get to if you go to Deep East Texas and stuff like that, they don't have scoreboards like we do down here. I told you that whenever I went to visit this year, I was like, man, they got really kick ass stadiums, and then you see their scoreboard and it's like looks like TM's board before they got an updated board this year. You know what I mean? They're still
Yeah.
sitting there with that old board, and Cal Allen's board. It looks like Cal Allen's board.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like most majority of our schools now down here have really nice scoreboards. I don't think if you have a scoreboard like that, you probably aren't going to have the capabilities to look at replays or do some of that thing. So I don't know, man. It's tough. I wish they would scrap it completely. You know what I mean?
And that works for me too. I just don't think it's fair to have it in one game and not have it anywhere else.
No, it's tough, dude. I was big time puller of Cuero. Some of the kids on the team, the coach Fycock and whatnot, and another thing, dude. I still claim Cuero as Region 4. So this is Region 4 versus Region 4 for me.
Yeah, it's one of those weird things this year.
And I'm going Cuero, even though I really do like Wimberley and Kinsey has family in Wimberley. I've always liked the Texans football style. I'm going Cuero here, man. There's a lot of little connections there as well for me and the Gobblers. So I'm picking them. I actually think they're gonna probably beat them by a couple scores. I actually watched the game last year in the Alamo Dome. It was really good. I thought Wimberley was gonna win for the longest time in that game too.
So Draylon Miller essentially became a household name that game. If he was big out there in East Texas, and man, if anybody watched that game, he's something special, man. He'll be back next year. He's a junior. That Silsby team will be back next year. Yeah. So it's going to be interesting to see them how they're going to shake out next year. And then we had, I guess we can jump into, we kind of touched on Flower Bluff Liberty Hill a little bit, right? You watched a little bit of that game. I didn't watch anything.
I had all 3 streams pulled up last week. I got lucky on that.
Yeah. So, I mean, Flower Bluff kept it interesting for a while. They didn't lose it.
I figured they were going to keep it respectable. You know what I mean? I thought they were built to slow that Liberty Hill team up enough, right? And they did a good job. I actually think they forced a punt or two on Liberty Hill. Of course, there were some self-inflicted wounds there by Liberty Hill. They seem to, false starts and how fast they move. I think they're probably something they deal with a lot. But I mean, it's Liberty Hill. I mean, the fact they kept it in that long is kind of crazy. I think for some people to believe. But Bluff had a good run. A lot of kids on that team that are coming back. There's a lot of kids that we're not going to see anymore. Wyatt Elwood, he was a heck of a player. He's one of my favorites around this area. So
yeah,
they played good. And then man, I always forget this kid's name, but he's the receiver from the Bluff, and he had an outstanding week. Number 19 or number 18. I don't know. For whatever reason, it always loses me. But he gosh, I want to say something with Cameron too. Either way, anyways, Bluff had a good run. It was unfortunate. I was hoping to see them knock off Liberty Hill, but at the same time, that Liberty Hill team's a well-oiled machine, and they're gonna give Region 3 a hell of a run for their money when that game kicks off this weekend as well.
Jaden Johnson, that's who you're talking about.
There you go, Jaden Johnson.
Okay,
it's Cameron Johnson and Jaden Johnson. I always get the last name mix up. But yeah, Jaden Johnson was having a really good game for a little bit there.
So Flower Bluff will be back again next year, a young team again. Yeah, keep an eye on them, man. They're going to be giving your Wildcats fits again next year, man.
Yeah, they are, man. They bring back Paliseo. They're going to bring back Dixon, Cam Johnson. John probably knows a little bit more. Some of the kids coming back, but they're going to bring back some. They're going to bring back some headaches.
Yeah, so that's going to be a good one. And then we've got. Well, I guess we'll talk about the Vets PSJ North one next, because then after that it's Refugio Shiner 2. We were at the Vets PSJ North game, and man, it was a defensive slugfest. It was everything that they said it was going to be. I think PSJ North was the favorite in that game. A lot of folks had them taking the region.
Yeah.
And that game was easily winnable for them. They had to play a perfect game, and they had a couple of slip-ups, couple of turnovers, and then they couldn't convert inside the red zone. Those are the main differences there. They had that turnover on the first drive, which Vets turned into 7 points real quick. that touchdown from Durrett
Sapsuit.
to Sapsut, who also put his name out there that game. He had a heck of a game, man.
Yeah, he did.
What do you what did you make of that game? What did you So this was the kind of the game that we talked about from the Valley, right? The Valley was they were hoping to set a record, right? Having these guys go into the Final Four, right? It would have been the first time since 2003 Port Isabel team that made it to the Final Four. And I think before that it was the 99 Edinburgh North team. I think I saw that made it to the Final Four. But that PSJ North team's a very young team, man. They're going to have, out of the 22 starters, they lose 2, both on the defensive side of the ball.
Safeties.
Everybody in the offense comes back. Mostly everybody on the defense comes back, man. They're going to be back, dude. And right now, because of what Vets is losing right now, I'll say it right now, I can see them taking the region next year.
Yeah, I mean that's a fair assessment. Because they could have won that game Friday, but the big reason why they didn't was because that defensive line stood strong from Vets, and I think that was I talked a lot and I bragged a lot on the PSJ North offensive line, but man, I also had mentioned in there that I was going to be super interested to watch the how the Vets D line stood tall against them, and honestly, man, I don't think PSG North had been, they kind of bullied people, it seemed like, all year. And in the playoffs, the game I did catch them, and they were bullying people, and they got a little bit bullied on Friday night themselves. They're the bully that hit somebody, and that they got hit right back, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, how do you respond to that? Are you gonna fold to that? Are you gonna be shocked? And they got a little shocked by it, I think, when Vets came out on that first drive and stuck them in the mouth and then popped them and got that turnover immediately. I think it was one of those things of like, oh damn, like we're in a fight here.
Yeah.
And give credit to Vets' defense and give credit to Coach Wilson and Coach Villarreal, who we've been a friend of the show with. His defensive line is, I think, who he specializes with. I gave all 4 of my stickers, I think my 3 and one of yours, to that D-line starters after the game because I was just super impressed with how they played. And what I think Vets had going for them in that game, and I told you afterwards, was they were tall, they were athletic. They weren't as big as the North boys, weight-wise, but they were athletic enough that they hung in there for 4 quarters, and they probably could have gave a whole nother quarter if they needed to. You know what I mean? And that's something that PSG just couldn't get going. Like they were never ever able to fully wear that defense out enough to where it's like, okay, now we can control this game. We got the lead.
Yeah.
Right. And then the Vets offense, they just kept applying pressure, right? As soon as they got that first lead, they never really relented it. And every time that PSG kind of kept themselves in the game, Vets immediately, put themselves right back on top.
Yeah.
Which was
remember when I told you, and they could have did it, man. They were driving, man, on that drive where they missed the field goal, right? When they got inside the 20, man, they held that ball for a long time. And that was my biggest concern, right? It's like, yeah, they're making stops, but they're not getting off the field on 3rd down.
Yeah.
And my concern was, okay, if they keep them from scoring, this defense is still they're just going to get tired. And then, so, Vets forces that. They forced the field goal. They missed the field goal. And then they get a turnover, right? So the defense trots right back on the field. And I was like, oh, this isn't going to bode well, man, for this defense if they can't get these guys off the field. And I think it was another missed field goal, right? No, they got in on that drive. Because they tied at 7-7 right before the end of the half. And that's when Eli hit Sabian on that. Oh, and actually it was the Reed kid where they drove down the field and scored with 7 seconds left in the half to go up 14-7 going into halftime. And that's kind of what did it, right there. And then Vets had their opportunity as well to kind of blow this game open instead of keep it so close. And that's what people are forgetting, right? It was a 7-point or 6-point ball game, but there was chances that Vets could have blown that game open as well. A couple of missed throws here and there, some inopportune turnovers, some poor throws. I think right in the 3rd quarter, when Eli threw that interception on the 2, they got the ball back. They intercepted PSG North right back, and then they fumble. on that
Yeah.
drive, or was that the strip? That was the strip fumble, right?
I think so. That was a strip fumble.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, 26, John. I think that kid was a freshman, if I remember back. So remember right. So he'll be back for the next few years.
Well, I think PSJ's main running back was out.
I don't know, man. They had so many. It was a strip. See, yeah, it was a strip fumble. Yeah, and then did they score on that one? No, they didn't score on that one.
I
But
would
it
say
kept.
with the returners that PSJ has coming back next year, they should be the favorite to get this region. They should be the favorite to win this region.
Yep.
But I'll say this too, man. There's been a lot of times I've counted vets out in the last like 5 years, and they just prove me wrong every time.
Yeah.
Right.
The big question mark's quarterback, right? Who's going to play quarterback next year?
They apparently got their man, and I forget the name every time it's told to me, but they apparently have their man, and he's supposed to be a dude. So we'll see. Take that for whatever you will.
Yeah.
We'll see when it happens and he plays and we see him on tape or in person. We'll see. But according to the people I've talked to, they have their man. They got the next man up already. They know who it is. So we'll see.
Okay. All right. So that takes us to our last game, Shiner Refugio 2 or 4, whatever you want to call it, right? We'll go by the season number. Second game of the season. So Shiner Refugio 2. Refugio comes out on top again, right? So
Could not believe the way it happened.
in similar fashion, right? Hang on, let me pull this up. You go ahead and talk about what you saw because you watched the game. I didn't watch it because it was on. I still have not paid for a Texan Live and FHS subscription yet. So
again. Be honest with you, I thought they had lost it again. And honestly, I think was it Bodecker from Shiner?
Boddicker, yeah.
Dude, I mean, he honestly other than the fact that they didn't win the game, I felt like he was out coaching Heron a little bit there, just with clock management and the style of that game throughout it. I felt like Refugio shouldn't have won the game, really. But it's 4 quarters, and obviously I'm glad that Refugio won. I wanted to see him win it, but for the longest time there, I was sitting there thinking, "Wow, here it is, man! They're gonna drop the ball on the biggest stage."
Brown in the shot.
Here it is, right here. I mean, this is huge. Play it.
Gun. King behind him. Back to pass. Looking. Throws deep to the right side. Wide open. Avery at the 50. Avery still running. Still loose. 20-yard line. 10-yard line. Touchdown. Refugio with 4 left to play. Huge pass to Isaiah Avery. Deep on the right side. Gets away from the tackler and takes it all the way home. Touchdown, Refugio.
Crazy, right?
87 yards, right? So
and that was identical to what, 79 or 81 yards?
Hang on.
The season? In the season? I don't know.
Shift.
Get up.
The rush. Bland pulls it in. First down. Backs out. To the 30. To the 50. And Bland to the 20. 10. Touchdown.
There we go.
Refugio.
We get this one over, man.
No flags.
Yeah.
Did you see the
score and everything?
Did you see the scores? The scores.
Identical score and everything.
Yep.
Could you imagine losing twice like that? Same scenario.
89-yard run and an 87-yard pass, both on 4th down. So that was a 4th and 5.
And 4th and 1, right?
That was a 4th and 5 on that one, right? And then the pass was on a 4th and 13, 4th and 12. It was actually a 4th and 5, and then they got a penalty. It was a false start penalty and pushed it back. And I think they thought they were going to punt, at that point. And man, and it goes with the title, right? If anybody can tell me what that title of the episode is, you'll understand, right? This point in the season, you've got to take chances, right? And a lot of times, fortune favors the bold, right? And in both cases, it did, right? Regular season and in the playoffs, man. Ballsy calls, man. And
that was some sweet revenge for Refugio. I'll say that.
Yeah.
right? After getting bullied last year in that game, absolutely just bullied in that playoff game, where I questioned, I'm like, other than losing Doug Brooks, right? I was like, ugh, I don't know, man. I was worried this year. I thought Shiner was going to get him again, honestly, with what Shiner was bringing back and just how it just seemed like, Rafiro's real finesse. Shiner was bullying him up and down the field. I thought this year Shiner was going to get him again, and I figured, Rafiro would go back on one of those runs where they beat him 3 or 4 years in a row. And, man, give credit to Shiner or the Rafiro kids, man. They stepped up again, huge. And, the first win for me was awesome to see, but the second one, man, that was straight up, revenge, right? Just served on a platter to Shiner. And I just couldn't believe it when I was watching the game. I was like, I cannot believe this happened twice to that Shiner team like that. Twice this year. Yeah. Right? They're pretty bitter rivals at this point, I would say, right?
Yeah.
So
12. I think that's the 12th meeting, which is still surprising, right? That they've only played 12 times, including this.
Really, it's been pretty dominated by Refugio.
Yeah, it has been up until the last couple of years. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, and the funny thing is, and Billy and Ryan will agree. This isn't supposed to be Refugio's year because they're so young. It's supposed to be next year. Yeah. Next year was the year that they were supposed to really dominate, and they're just those kids are just blooming early. They're playing Refugio football, right? And
that's kind of why I was thinking, this was gonna be Shiner's, again moment to go back, just based off of what Refugio was bringing them back again, and then what these guys. We're bringing back again. But what a game, dude. I just couldn't believe it. And if you watch the game, too, you just – on that 4th down for Refugio, just stuff was not going good. Nothing was working. Just like the first time around. It just was like, They blew the lead. It was like Shiner was starting to kind of – they had the momentum going, everything, man. I was like, oh, man, this is it. And then what do you know? Crazy.
High school football, man. High school
Straight
football.
Up.
So we kind of talked a little bit about some of these games already. I mean, man, that's really it for the recaps, right? As far as what happened last week. So now we're left with 2, right? 2 in the Coastal Bend. We still have a couple in the area around. Poth is still around. I think this may be their first semifinal appearance in program history. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that's what it is. Edna's still hanging out there. I think this is Edna's first they're trying to make it to the state title game for the first time since I think 1965 is what I think I read. And, Bernie still fighting in it. And then, of course, we've got Cuero, Vets, and Refugio. There you go. Refugio only controlled the ball for 12 minutes in that game.
It's crazy, right?
Yeah, man. Wow. What I'm going to do is because a lot of these teams are not in our area. I mean, we do not do the homework on some of these teams. So thank you, Bally Sports Southwest. A lot of folks don't have Bally Sport. I do not have it. But you know what does, and that's Twitter. Twitter has it. So let's talk about Cuero Wimberley a little bit. We talked about Cuero a little bit. Let's see what Wimberley's got. Right. So this is their recap from last week it was a rematch against Lago Vista. Craig Way is going to take, we may get shut down over this, right? Because we may have to pull this episode down, but it is from Bally Sports and Craig Way is going to take the lead here.
Board Live. You know what I like best about quarterfinal weekend? One word, rematches. Always a rematch or two on which to keep an eye. And that was the case in 4A Division II down in the greater Austin area. Wimberley and Lago Vista had played a great game a few weeks ago. Lago had the lead late, but Wimberley won it. And so, hey, the Vikings loading up the Yellow Dog for the short ride down to the field in Pflugerville to get ready to take on those Wimberley Texans in the rematch. But Wimberley ready for the challenge, obviously. They're up 21-18, and Johnny Ball, Johnny Ball, what a great name. And he had a great game in for the touchdown. Texans up by 10. Fourth quarter, guess who? Ball again, and he takes it down the field, around the edge, and down to the end zone. Wimberley on top, 35-18 playing there and in Hutto. And then with the Vikings trying to stay within striking range, Bowen stopped to the air and then There's a touchdown pass. Lago down just 11, but just too much for the Texans. And ball breaking a tackle, off to the races, had over 200 yards rushing, and Wimberley is in the Final Four. They beat Lago Vista 49-30, the final.
I think
So
Wimberley is actually a really good team.
Yeah. I mean,
I know that's pretty bland, right? What's crazy to me is the starting quarterback for China Spring this year was the guy last year for Wimberley.
yeah.
That was their man. They were splitting reps with him and Cash McCullum, and his dad was a coach for Wimberley, and they were there since like elementary school, I believe. And then this year, his dad got a good opportunity to go to China Spring, and they moved him over to China Spring, who's still in this, still playing as well. But that's crazy that Wimberley was able to take such a loss at such a crucial position, which they're normally a big time throwing team, and still get this far, and honestly just wax people along the way. And this is a big matchup again because these two played last year in the Alamo Dome. Like I said, I watched it. I thought Wimberley for the most part was going to win that game, and then Cuero kind of grinded it out towards the end on him and ended up taking it from him. But I think a lot of people right now are picking kind of Cuero in a big one over him.
So right now, they're playing Friday, 3 p.m. at the Alamo Dome. There is a free stream if you guys are interested. Cuero ISD will have it on their YouTube page, just like they did last week for the Silsby game. So you will have the opportunity to see the game for free. Cuero's favored by 4 right now.
You got me there?
Yeah, you kind of froze up there for a little bit. Your connection
Yeah,
showing
my
is
internet
red.
went in and out real quick.
All right, you
Yeah,
want
my
to punch
internet
out?
went in and out real quick. No,
You
I'm
want to
back
punch
in
out
normal.
and come back in? Okay. All right. So, I think Cuero's been tested enough, man. I don't know enough about the Wimberley team, like I said, other than it's a typical Wimberley team. They've got a bunch of big kids, fast kids, very athletic. But man, Cuero's got some dogs, dude. They've got some
Cuero's
dogs,
just more
man.
experience, I think, at this point. And they're more tested. They played very good. They played some really good teams along the way here. Silsby, I think, was a tougher draw last week for him than this Wimberley team is. And that's not taking nothing away from Wimberley. It's just that was a really good Silsby team with a lot of athletes. So I think this one right here is not going to be a comfortable breeze win. But I definitely think Cuero will put it away, by the fourth quarter. It should be in the bag for them. I think they'll kind of handle up on Wimberley as it progresses, and almost similar to last year, right? Wimberley kind of came out, kind of got on them early, and then Cuero just kept fighting back, and that's what happened with Silsby, man. That team has no quit whatsoever in them, and that's honestly, huge, especially once you get to this point. It's like, how are you going to respond when you're down? And they know, they know how to do it. So that's a big advantage moving forward for them.
So we both got Cuero. I don't put scores to mine because I'm not good at handicapping that way. But I think Cuero's going to take this one maybe by more than 4. I'd say by a touchdown. There's my handicap. There you go.
I'm going to call Cuero 42, Wimberley 24.
All right. So that brings us to our next game, which is another game out of our area. I've got a couple of previews here. Again, thank you, Bally Sports Southwest.
They face, it'd be the Region 4 titleist, either Llano or Edna. First quarter for the Cowboys, it's Jaden Clay to Braylon Harris up top, and Edna gets the early jump. They go on top 6-0. In the third quarter now in San Marcos, it's Clay to Cade in for the score, 13-0. Edna on top, still in the third. And once more, it's Jaden Clay, this time keeping it in. They got up big, and they go on to win this one 40-21 over Llano. Great season for the Yellow Jackets, but it ends, it's Edna and Franklin Thursday night in Katy in the state semifinal round.
So there you go.
So Jaden Clay is a ball player, but I think the difference in this game going to be the offensive and defensive line of Edna. That's going to determine if they can win this game or not. So last week, Edna, and this is what they cannot afford against Franklin this week. They turned the ball over on their first 2 possessions. And it boded okay for them. But their offensive line did not give up any sacks against Llano. None. Meanwhile, Edna's defense got 6 sacks, forced 3 fumbles, all recovered by Edna, and all turned into points. They cannot turn the ball over against this Franklin team. because, and I'm pretty sure you did your research on what they did last week, right? I know this is going to hurt a little bit.
Yeah, I know.
But
Eastern side and the south side, and that includes a defending state champion. The Franklin
Cards.
Lions taking on the Columbus Cardinals as we take you through this Jack in the Box spotlight. Defending 3A Division 2 state champions of Franklin now in Division 1, but Adam Schobel to Christian Reyna, a 35-yard touchdown run. Look at that pretty pass. Columbus up 7-0 after the first quarter, but Jaden Jackson has had a big season, and he had a big game. 26 carries, 164 yards, 9-yard touchdown run there. Lions up 10-7 at the break. Opening drive of the second half. Don't forget about Bryson Washington, and check out this run. Tough, hard, drag tacklers with you run, and just carries Cardinals with him into the end zone. Franklin up 17-7 late in the third quarter. Back come the Cards. It's Schobel to Colton Pitchford, a 40-yard pitch and catch. And it's now 17-14 in the fourth quarter. 5 minutes to go. Schobel looking for cousin John Schobel. Yeah, there's 4 Schobels on the Cards roster, and Columbus on the brink of pulling the surprise. They lead 21-17. 30 seconds to go. Down to the last gasp on 4th down and 5. And a reverse around the corner. Who else but Washington? 7-yard run. He had 23 carries, 100 yards. Coach Mark Fannin and the Lions moving on. They extend the winning streak to 30 games with a 24-21 win. Franklin over Columbus. How about some comments from the winning head coach Mark Fannin?
so interesting stat out of that game. Franklin ran 74 plays to Columbus's 45. Now, ball control, man. That's why Edna cannot afford to turn the ball over, because they probably will not see the ball again for a very long time. And kudos to Columbus for taking advantage of those 45 plays and putting up 21 points. But again, man, 4th and 5 on the 7. Fortune favors the bold, man. I mean,
interesting thing about Franklin. So
that kid, he's actually a Baylor commit, number 15.
So there's a weird triangle in there because, well, actually a square. No, it's a triangle. Either way. So Refugio's first loss of the year was to Hitchcock, right?
Hitchcock, right. That's a tough district, man. That's where Columbus came out of.
Everyone freaked out, right? And then Hitchcock ended up beating my Cards, I believe.
Yep.
And then Franklin ended, and that was a good Hitchcock team. And then Franklin ended Hitchcock 53-13 in the playoffs, right? And then the Cards kept it respectable. Well, almost beat Franklin, right? And then Refugio beat Edna. I just don't see Edna beating this, guys. I don't see Edna beating Franklin. Like, Edna's having a good run right now. They're clicking, they're playing good ball, but so is Franklin. They're on a 30-something game win streak, right? And I don't see this Edna team being the team to upset that, right now. I would love to see Edna do it, Region 4 all the way, but I think you're going to get another Franklin victory this week. I just think they got a lot going for them right now.
I'm gonna go the opposite. I'm gonna say Edna's gonna keep that momentum from last week, and I think their offense and defensive line's gonna get the job done.
I'd love to see that. God, that'd be awesome.
And that's who I'm gonna go with on this one. I'm gonna go with Edna.
Tomorrow night.
Yeah, tomorrow night. So there's a lot of games that will be, like I said, we'll be up the road, not too far.
Yep.
From that game. We'll be at Cy-Fair Stadium at the Barry Center watching Refugio and Timpson. So that'll take us to our next game, another couple of teams that we do not cover, and that is Poth and Gilmer Harmony. Again, I've got another clip here again because we do not cover these guys, so we'll let Craig Way do it for us, right?
The Region 4, Poth and Tidehaven. Opening drive of the game, Matthew Bunn on the handoff, plunging in for the score. A low-scoring slugfest, but Poth into the state semifinals with a 12-6 victory. So here is your rather unlikely state semifinal matchup. The Poth Pirates against the Harmony Eagles, Craig?
They, of the 9-5 record. Every now and then you'll get one of those. And for folks who say, hey, 4 teams in the playoffs, first of all, get over yourself, okay? It's been around a long, long time. It's going to keep happening. And when moments like this happen, it's pretty cool. Here's a team like Harmony that was 5-5 going in, and they've been able to put it together late. Sometimes it's injuries or just chemistry that doesn't kick in until late in the season. By the way, did you notice Harmony's big?
Yes.
They've got good size. So does Poth.
Yes.
And this sets up another one of those kind of slugfest semifinals.
Real strength on strength matchup there. The trench play is going to be great. Harmony was 0-4, and now they're into a state championship.
I
or
told
state
you guys
semifinal.
this like 6 weeks ago. I want new blood. New blood at AT.
I agree with that statement. New blood at AT&T, 100%.
0-4, man. 0-4 starting the year. Went into the playoffs 5-5. Man, and if that's not a good proponent for 4 teams should make the playoffs, I don't know what is.
I think 4 teams should make the playoffs, no doubt.
Because you run into situations like this where the district's just that deep, and this apparently was a very deep district.
I got Poth, man.
They beat Newton, who was projected to win Region 3, 36-22 last week.
Dude, Newton's been a heavy hitter for a while there in that division of football. So that's a hell of a win for them to get. But I'm going Poth.
I am too.
All the way. Poth's had a pretty good little schedule if you look at it. They, one loss to Shiner at 1 point.
Yeah. And I think that was an overtime loss, right?
Something like that. 22-21.
I think it was an overtime loss, yeah. And I think Poth is actually favored by 13 in this one. And going back to the other, I didn't give you the favorite on that one. That's Thursday night, 7 p.m. at Katy Legacy Stadium. Franklin's favored by 8. This one's at Cy-Fair Stadium, same place we'll be at Friday night. But Poth is favored by 13, and I'm going to go with the prognosticators on this one and say that one. Yeah, man, Michael. And we talked about Coach Luna last week, man. Poth's program was kind of in the mud, stuck in the mud before he got there. And man, he's gotten there and man, he's turned that program around and he's done great things with the kids out there. And just like Craig Way said, they are big. They've got some big kids out there. And man, I would definitely like to see it. It'd be good for the area to have just like she said, man, some new blood in AT&T Stadium.
For sure.
And man, I know you'll be in Colorado, man, but if we get enough Region 4 teams, man, I may head up to Dallas, dude. I filed for credentials already. Whether I get them or not, we'll see.
News to me, fellas.
Yeah, but we'll see.
If
Yeah,
they
but
don't win, I'm canceling my trip.
yeah, right.
I would also be in the doghouse for years.
For a long time. Yep. So the next game that we've got is
I literally be living in a doghouse.
Bernie and Chapel Hill. I don't think I've got any highlights on Bernie and Chapel Hill. Just because I think we've seen what Bernie can do if you watch that game against Bally.
We kind of touched on it. I think we touched on it enough earlier in the segment on them.
Yeah.
It's going to be a good one.
This game's Friday night at the Alamo Dome, 7 p.m. Texas Sports Productions will be streaming this game. If it's free, I do not know. But they will have it. It's not on the KSAT 12 Big Game Coverage app, but it's probably a pay one. But they will be getting the call, so it will be streamed.
Honestly, if you don't have anything going on this weekend, Friday, Saturday at the Alamo Dome is where it's at. That's where you need
a lot of games, man. There's a lot of games.
A lot of bang for your buck right there, dude. You don't have to even leave, man. They got restrooms, they got soda, and they got food. You don't even gotta leave.
Fellas, take your significant other Christmas shopping this weekend. Have them shop at the River Center. You just slide over to the Alamo Dome and enjoy it while they rack up the bills, man. Why not, right?
Yep.
Why not? So yeah, Bernie's the favorite.
School football, yeah, you know what I mean? I think anyone can go to that game and get excited. Those games this weekend.
Yeah. So Bernie's the favorite by 12 in this one. I think you're on the Chapel Hill bandwagon in this one. I'm going to side with the Bernie one on this one, man. I think I
hope Bernie wins, dude.
I think they've got enough to withstand the blows that Chapel Hill's gonna deliver. Like I said, I've seen Bernie. You've seen Bernie. A lot of folks in the area have seen Bernie because of that Cal Allen stream, and man, they're just very efficient. There's nothing flashy about the offense, but they're just very efficient.
Yeah.
Um,
It'd be awesome if
and,
Bernie win, honestly.
and then that brings us to. I actually did a lot of homework on this one. College Station and Veterans Memorial, right? So we've got the Eagles traveling up to the Alamo Dome Saturday at 5 p.m. College Station is favored by, what do you think? What do you think they're favored by? How much? No.
21?
They're favored by one score, 7 points. They're favored by 7 points. Now, this College Station team, pretty balanced attack. They're averaging 229 rushing yards per game, 164 yards passing a game, which comes out to a total of 393 yards of offense per game. If you guys saw it, I mean, that was all over. We shared it on our Facebook page the other day. It was a 4th and 5 from the goal line for Smithson Valley and a tackle there. That's a game-saving tackle. Actually, that score would have tied it, forced the game into overtime. But a great play by an outside linebacker, broke off his block and tackled the Smithson Valley runner about 4 yards shy of the goal line to keep that win. They've had a couple wins like that during the season. The defense and special teams have scored 5 additional touchdowns this year, a couple interception returns for touchdowns, some fumbles returned for touchdowns, and a couple of kick returns and punt returns for touchdowns. Last week, they lost 2 of their starting linebackers to injury and still were able to pull that game out. Colin Griswold and Sean Bellows both went out with injuries last week. Whether they'll be back this week, I'm not sure. I wasn't able to find any of that. But the names that you're going to hear a lot of from these guys. So College Station, I don't know if you guys are familiar. They played at the state championship last year. They lost. Breaking in a new head coach this year. They lost their starting running back early in the season for the season.
Sub-Zero.
So they've had from the get-go, you're like, okay, the deck stacked against them, right? They lost 2 games in the regular season. They lost 1 to Georgetown, which they avenged 2 weeks ago in the playoffs. They actually blew them out. And the names you're going to hear is Arrington Maiden, who's a junior quarterback, he's thrown for 1,900 yards, 14 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, and rushed for 105 yards and 4 touchdowns. Running back who has stepped in for Sub-Zero, Aiden Martinez-Brown, run for pretty close to 2,000 yards, 1,900 yards rushing, 20 touchdowns, 248 yards receiving, and 3 touchdowns. He's a sophomore. And their leading receiver, Jackson Vertigo, 872 receiving yards, 7 touchdowns. The next kid in line is Bo Corton with 376 yards and 1 touchdown. They've also got a hammerhead of a short yardage back in Tony Hamilton, who's got 147 rushing yards and 9 touchdowns. He's their goal line short yardage back, and it's very reminiscent of Craig Ironhead Hayward from the Saints back in the day. Very big kid, and use him in short yardage situations, averaging almost 6 yards a carry because of they're using him so sparingly in those front yardage or those short yardage situations. Pretty scary, man. Their offensive line, that's the biggest thing that you heard about is that offensive line, right?
Yeah,
So 5'10", 185, 6 foot, 265, 6 foot, 250, 5'10", 200, 6'6", 315. Those are their starting 5 offensive linemen there.
Big boy.
Utley, Spearman, Lopez, Bradshaw, and Calderon. So, man, it's going to be that Vets defensive line is going to have their work cut out for them this week.
You know, the thing with for me with College Station is, man, gosh, if they would, if they had Marquis Sub-Zero, he's a legit 3-4-star running back as a junior last year coming into the season.
He's a Duke commit.
He's a Duke commit to Mike Elko, who, if you keep in mind, Mike Elko was right there in literally in his town for the last couple of years at A&M. And when he dipped over to Duke, he took Sub-Zero with him, right? That was I want to say Mike Elko's son played at College Station with that kid as well. So he that's a nice little, he just kind of stole a nice little recruit right there, right, out of the backyard of A&M. But I mean, I don't think he was getting A&M. Either way, it was like Mike Elko was on top of that kid from the get-go, right? So he's a stud player. And they lost him to a knee injury, I think, right before the season started or right as like week 1. But yeah, man, College Station, they've kind of came on ever since they the last couple, probably 5 to 8 years in there. They're just good. They got tons of athletes. big O-line, big D-line. This is the team actually Cal Allen beat to get to Alito that year to go to state. But if you right about that time was when College Station was really starting to knock the door down to become like who they are right now. And then they've won state in between there now. So tall task for the Vets Eagles here. And, the thing, though, I think that, there should be some light for the Eagles is the fact that, Smith and Valley's on a backup quarterback and almost won that game. College Station has some injuries lurking on them, and they are beatable. You've seen it there this year. They are beatable. It's just, can we overcome the size and speed difference, right? I think speed kind of was the greater equalizer for us last week against PSJ. So now it's like, how is our speed going to match up to their speed? And then how is their size going to match up to this veteran Eagles size? And I'm a little worried that we're leaning towards the Cedar Park scenario. When Vets got to this level and Cedar Park was just bigger and faster across the board and there really wasn't much you could do about it, almost like Cal Allen and Bernie this past weekend. So that kind of worries me a little bit. But I'm rooting for the Eagles. I'm going to take the Eagles to win it. Big, tall task, though, this week. Big, tall task.
I'm going to man, I hate to do this, but I'm going to go with College Station in this one. I think they're going to control the ball a little more than what Vets is going to do. Vets, this is going to have to be a game where Vets makes no mistakes for them to win. Do I think it's going to be a blowout? No, I don't think it's going to be a blowout. I think it's going to be a one-possession game. That Vets defense is salty, man. They are salty. I would like to see them. Pull it off. In that secondary, they've got a Wisconsin commit there at College Station. I can't remember. It's number 5. I don't remember his name off the top of my head. Yeah. So they've got a good guy back there that can make some plays. I think, and that defensive line there for College Station is also very big. 6'1", 260, 5'70", 185, 6'2", 215, 6 foot, 200. Young kids as well. This is a very young team as well. Sophomores and juniors, a couple of seniors on this squad. I think it's just going to be, I think they're going to be too much. So I don't think it's going to be a blowout. I hope Vets can pull it off. We need to see if Jaden's going to come back this week for Vets. He left on that first possession, Jaden Castaneda, who really hurt. Those guys, Luke Moya stepped in very well, coming out of the backfield there. But it'd be nice to have them both back.
Just get a little bit more.
I've got College Station in this one. You've got Vets, and hopefully Vets can pull it off. And then our last game of the week, the game that we will be attending, Refugio and Timpson. So Timpson is actually, I'll let Craig Way do the talking for us again on this one, just to give you a quick rundown of Timpson.
Unbeaten Cooper Bulldogs, bit of a surprise, but Timpson stood in their way. Bulldogs running back Tyle Moses goes in motion, takes the handoff for the rushing touchdown, and Cooper is in business early, but Timpson's got Terry Bussey. He's in for a touchdown there, and then second quarter, Bussey's going to keep it on the option read keeper, and he's a problem. He's going to coast in for a touchdown. Timpson wins it 34-13. So that brings up your state semifinal between the Timpson Bears and the Refugio Bobcats going down there at Cy-Fair FCU Stadium, the Barry Center. And
Bussey versus Herring.
And look, so here's the thing, Craig. You take a look at Terry Bussey and what he's been able to do here. One of the very best, most dynamic playmakers in the state of Texas. He's unparalleled, I think, as far as individual playmakers are concerned. Going up against Refugio and trying to snap what has been Refugio's dominance and, writ large, Region 4's dominance over Region 3. The last time there wasn't a Region 4 team in the state championship was 2012.
Yeah.
It's been a while.
Yeah, and the way that they have done it is obviously throughout the years with great interior line play, especially on the offensive front where they're just pushing defensive back, and then on the defensive side where they punished teams trying to run the football or pass the football. This is a little bit different because Bussey can do so many different things. He can beat you with his arm, his legs, his brain, his feet, everything. But still, it's going to come down to some line play, and it's going to need to be Timpson holding off that Refugio defense in order to make Bussy the weapon that he is.
And then it just comes down to, Terry Bussy magic. Now, he's far from alone out there. Vosky Howard, they got a bunch of playmakers there on that Timpson team, but this is a game we've been looking forward to for a long, long time. The winner of Region 4, that death match down there in Region 4, now gets to take on one of the most individually special players in the state.
Remember last year we were looking forward to Terry Bussy and Timpson against Shiner?
Mm-hmm.
Same deal. I mean, can they do it? Another shot at it this time around. We'll see.
Could Terry Bussy win Mr. Texas football for the first time as a junior since Kyler Murray did? We shall see on TexasFootball.com.
Terry Bussy's a hoss, dude.
Dude, he is a dude.
He's a dude. Big time dude.
So he's been playing. He's had a part of this team since he was a freshman. He's a junior this year. He's a 4-star. No, non-committed yet. But he's got a stack of offers, probably a foot high, 3 feet high, probably. This is his third straight trip to the semifinals. They've lost to Shiner the last 2 years, en route to Shiner State Championships the last 2 years. He's actually, just like they said on the broadcast, he's a finalist for Mr. Texas Football Player of the Year. Justin and I were talking about this before. There's a lot of team speed on this. Vosky Howard that they just mentioned earlier is a wide receiver, defensive back. He's got offers from Auburn, Houston, Texas Tech, and Vanderbilt. So Terry Bussy's not the only guy you got to worry about on this squad. Terry Bussy also plays defense. I think he's got 8 interceptions on the season. So does Vosky Howard. He's got, I think, 3 or 4 interceptions on the season. A lot of team speed, man. These guys actually finished. Little fun fact here. Refugio won state last year in track. Timpson finished second. So there's a lot of speed. Both these teams are fast. But this Bussy kid, man, he's a one-man wrecking crew. Last week he had 187 yards passing, 179 yards rushing, and accounted for all 5 touchdowns, 4 on the ground, 1 passing. The week before, 216 yards rushing, 4 touchdowns, 190 passing yards, and 2 touchdowns. I don't know if they've faced a team with the same kind of team speed that Refugio has. I do not know that. So it could be a shock, man.
I'm not sure, but they're out in East Texas, and I would have to assume they have seen some team speed. Looking at their schedule, Dangerfield, St. Augustine usually has some good speed. Centerville, Cooper. I don't know, man. I think Refugio as a whole, team-wise, is probably, I think, a little. I would favor Refugio in that part. But the thing for me is, can Refugio slow up these 2 cats, right? Are they going to be able to slow these 2 cats up, right? Because Terry Bussy touches the ball every play, no matter what.
Yep.
And that's the worrisome concern right there for me. I'm taking the Bobcats. I'm very interested to see how Coach Herron approaches this team in this week. Does he go ball control, or does he try to go blow for blow with them? Does he think his defense can hang enough in there that they can run the normal offense with them? It'll be interesting to see. I would assume they would spy Terry Bussy, probably with one of their more athletic kids. Because they're going to have to put someone on him. They're going to have to put someone on Javosky Howard as well. So I don't know, man. I'm rolling with the Bobcats here, but this is going to be a tough game. But this reminds me a lot of St. Augustine a couple years ago. They thought St. Augustine was going to hang one on Refugio because they had all this team speed and everything, and Refugio ended up shutting that quarterback down. He was another guy. He was a big-time playmaker, and Refugio took him out of the ballgame, essentially. He ended up actually even getting hurt at one point in that game. But they neutralized him, and then that ultimately slowed St. Augustine down enough, and Refugio got by him. But that's kind of the vibes I'm getting from this game when I'm just looking at it on paper and looking ahead a little bit here.
So Refugio's favored by 3 in this one.
Good pedigree. I mean, this should be.
This is old hat for them, right? Being considered the underdog. I think they are they're not the underdog, but I think most people will say they are they would say they are the underdog.
I think all year long people have picked Timpson to win it over everybody on this side, over Region 3 and Region 4. But I think Refugio has a very good chance of proving people wrong on that. 10 years running, the Region 4 has taken over Region 3. But don't get it twisted. This is a good Timpson team, dude.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And we'll find out Friday night or Thursday night, tomorrow night. Yeah. So if any of you guys are in the area, man, seek us out, man. We'll be out there. We're going to get there a little early, try to grab something to eat somewhere around the area. And then head over to the stadium. But just keep in check with us, man. Watch our Twitter, watch our Facebook, check our TikTok out. We'll put some live content up throughout the game and probably afterwards. We got a long drive back, so maybe we'll go live afterwards on the ride home to kind of talk about the game as we see. Why not, right? What else are we going to do? Or maybe go live from the stadium, but we'll see. Guys, Justin, you got anything else before we go?
Yeah, I was going to touch on Javi's comment.
Okay.
I do cover that area. We just don't put it on the show a lot. I'm leaning North Shore here. I think North Shore gets over Westlake this year. I noticed last week Westlake had some players out. If Greathouse is out again and the quarterback's out again, I'm not sure that Westlake can overpower North Shore this year. But that's going to be a really good game. It's been a good game in the past. But I'm going to lean with the Mustangs to get back to the state finals in this one this year. Although I'm pulling for Westlake. I like Westlake.
Yeah, it'd be good for Tony Salazar to get his first state championship as a head coach, man. He's got a lot as a defensive coordinator. Be nice to see him get one as a head coach.
Mexican pride, baby.
Yeah. Okay, guys. Well, hopefully we got another show up our sleeves. Well, at least one of us, because the other one's going to be out of town. Maybe one of us will be taking a trip up to Dallas next week if we got enough Region 4 teams.
You should, if you do that, you should wear one of them head units like a GoPro and just do your entire trip.
We go back to work Saturday daylights. So I would actually probably, if I was able to go, probably head up there for the 2A and 2A, 3A, and 4A games and head back that afternoon to be back at work on Saturday. So it'd be a Thursday and Friday trip. I think the 2A D1 plays at 11 Thursday morning.
Get there Wednesday and check out that 6-man ball.
We'll see. But guys, that's all. I think that's all we got. We still got a couple more helmets to deliver. Cutter, we haven't forgot about you. And Easy. Man, I don't want to jinx them. Take it to the game.
We're taking it tomorrow.
Okay, we'll take it tomorrow. Easy. We'll get it to you tomorrow. Win or lose, you'll have it. And Cutter, you'll have yours in the mail. I gotta get a box. That's the thing. I gotta get a box for it. But guys, again, thanks for watching. And man, we'll tune in next couple of weeks. We're gonna hang the show up for about a month, January, kind of decompress and figure out how we want to tackle next year. We've got some ideas up our sleeves as far as if we want to keep an off-season show going. We got some ideas, but we'll see. Guys, again, thanks for watching, and we'll see you later.